Le'Veon Moss just became the most important skill position player for the Aggies.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, ladies and gentlemen, some really, really unfortunate news to talk about today as Texas A&M running back, a player that you every day here at Locked On Aggies know I thought was going to have a full-on breakout season. Rueben Owens, it's announced a lower leg injury is going to hold him out the whole season. What does this mean? Very simple. Le'Veon Moss just became the most important skill position player on this football team, and it's not even a debate. You know, I was pretty confident that this running back room, you look at what Coach Klein has done, last year, Kansas State, for example, he basically had two running backs. He had one guy who was the dude, was the starter, and then he had a guy who kind of came in, changed a pace, played a role. I felt that this Texas A&M duo of Owens and Moss was going to be a little different than that because I thought that Owens was going to be 1A and Moss was going to be 1B. And if they were A and B, the margin was very narrow. I said if Ruben Owens is the guy, I think we're talking 51% to 49. This is a close race. So I liked Rueben Owens to have a massive season. I did. I was fully in on that, but I didn't think that he had this job in command by a wide margin. I've Le'Veon Moss is a great player, high upside, had some solid numbers last year. But listen, it is now the Le'Veon Moss show. I mean, we look at this and Ruben Owens is done. Your 5-star sophomore who's expected to take that sophomore leap that we see from 5 stars all the time isn't going to be able to do that. The other unfortunate part about this, I mean, literally on Friday in segment 3, I talked about we've seen Texas lose a running back for the year. We've seen Notre Dame lose their left tackle for the year. The Aggies got to stay healthy over these next few weeks. And then not 2 days later, you see a player who many, myself included, believed was going to be a star this year goes down with an injury in Rueben Owens. And then the same thing we saw with Donovan Green tearing his ACL. Like, I would genuinely be curious to know when Donovan Green tore his ACL last year. I mean, it was right around this date. In these injuries, there are no good injuries. There's no such thing as a good injury. There's no such thing as a convenient injury. But this is just about the worst, not only for the player. I mean, seriously, we're all thinking about you, Rueben Owens. I mean, this is being an athlete and working your behind off to get ready for a season and being excited. I mean, these players, they get excited for this. They're thinking every day about, oh man, we're playing Notre Dame and Kyle Field in less than 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Or 2.5 weeks. That's what's going through these players' minds. And now that's, taken away from Rueben Owens. So, I mean, really my thought, I'm really thinking about him, praying for him, and hopefully he is okay. And, whatever the injury is, it's just listed as lower leg. We haven't got a full on breakdown. We'll hear from Coach Elko in a few days to hear what really went on. But these injuries are the worst because now you've got to re-game plan for the season when it comes to this position. So what was now once again, a conversation that we have had a ton here at Locked On Aggies has now come into play, and that is you have a very, very deep running back room. I love Le'Veon Moss. I love Amari Daniels, and I think EJ Smith is a player with a very, very, very high upside and ability to help this room. I talked to Spencer McLaughlin, the host of Locked On College Football, and he told he's a big was a big rest in peace, a big Pac-12 guy. Rest in peace to the Pac-12. But and he told me, hey, EJ Smith is a player. I'm telling you, at Stanford, they didn't use him right. If they use him right, he's a player who can seriously do some damage, and he likes EJ Smith. So, and we've heard some good things. We've heard some good things about the running back room as a whole. Coach Elko himself at the podium last time he was up there before the injury to Rueben Owens, said, hey, we got a deep room. We got 4 guys that are competing. We got 4 guys playing well. So we're not going to sit here and pretend like this isn't a huge injury. We're not going to do that because this is problematic. This is a bad, bad, bad loss for the Aggies. Am I going to change my upside win prediction for the team because of this? No, because once again, of the depth in this room and because of what I said, I thought Ruben Owens, 51%, 49. I keep saying that, keep harping on that, but it's reality. I don't think the drop off from Rueben Owens to Le'Veon Moss is far, if there is any drop off. Now, if is the drop off from Rueben Owens to Amari Daniels, that's what becomes the debate. So you're now also in a spot where you only got really 3 running backs on the roster now. So you now no longer can afford injuries. You know what I mean? When you had 4, you're in a good spot. Now you lost one your talented players for the year. Now you're in a spot where, hey, you cannot lose any other running backs. No more injuries in that room. But I mean, just all around devastating loss for this team. Tragic for Rueben Owens himself. I mean, seriously, my heart really goes out for Ruben. These injuries are the worst. I mean, you wait, that Oklahoma State game ends, and all you're thinking about is next season. And now, 2.5 weeks, once again, before one of the most exciting games in college football in Kyle Field, and, you're not going to be able to be a part of it. That's just really unfortunate for this team, for Rueben Owens himself, this coaching staff. But, the goal is still there for Texas A&M. Nothing has changed. You're not looking at this go, well, we lost Rueben Owens. We're done for. We're not going to win any football games. I mean, he's a super, uber talented player. Would have helped this team a ton. I think he was going to crack 1,000 yards. But at the end of the day, you're still in a really good position in this running back room. That's the positive. That is the good news. You have to remember that. But that means that either EJ Smith or Amari Daniels, as important as Le'Veon Moss just became, more so than he was, which once again I still think he'd have been very important. Now Amari Daniels and EJ Smith become that much more important as well, because one of them is going to have to be this guy getting 10 carries a game, a handful of touches. I mean, Amari Daniels can do it. I believe in the upside of EJ Smith. So there's talent in this room still. There was always talent in this room. The problem is you're losing a really good player. So we're not going to sit here and act like, well, it's a tough loss, but you're still in a great spot in the room. That is true, but you'd have been in a better spot if you had Rueben Owens all year. So tough loss for Texas A&M. This is just incredibly, once again, and I keep saying this, but the fact that we sat on Friday and said, we're in that spot of the year, you can't start losing your stars. You can't lose players. You got to stay healthy. You're a deep team right now. If you start seeing players get hurt right now, that's when you lose that depth. So hate to see this happen the way it did. Once again, this team's going to be okay thanks to the depth at the position. But at the end of the day, my thoughts right now are with Rueben Owens and just hoping that he's okay mentally, hoping he's going to get back to being himself physically, because he's a player who's going to come back stronger from this injury. So I know everybody. I know all you everydayers here, Locked On Aggies, agree. Ruben, we're thinking about you, buddy. Get healthy. We can't wait to see you back on the field because we know you're going to be an absolute star. I also want to break down Texas A&M's most recent commit, and that is DJ Sanders. This kid is going to be a star, and I think he's going to be on the field early. We're going to break down him and talk about where this class is coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So, to stop being so negative and start talking about something a little bit more on the exciting side of things, I do want to talk about Texas A&M's most recent commit, DJ Sanders, 6'4", 290-pound defensive lineman. Once again, and I do not want to sound like a broken record when I start talking about tape, but please go watch the tape on DJ Sanders. It is just artwork. I mean, it is absolute artwork. He is a player who you're going to see out on the field early. He's got that build to where I think the transition to college in a Tommy Moffitt strength and conditioning program is not going to be overwhelming for him. 6'4", 290. I mean, being a guy who you assume is going to be an interior guy at the next level, they might want to put a few pounds on him, but I mean, he's playing at once again, when you watch the film, he's playing at a really good spot. I like the weight he's playing at. He moves well. So the tape, the first thing that stands out is the power and the speed. He had a lot of fumble recoveries, a few fumble recoveries taken to the house, and he shows off the speed. There were, the first one I was like, he's not going to get there. The quarterback's going to take him down, and he was able to beat everybody to the end zone. He is strong, he is powerful, and he's quick. You love athletic big guys, and he's an athletic big guy. I mean, he's, once again, the speed at his size is impressive. And he's not out here. He's not going to be in the Olympics running the 40-yard dash or whatever, 100 meter. You know what I mean? That's not what he's not that kind of speed, but for his size, he can move. And those are the type of players that we see always succeed in college football and then move on to, substantial NFL careers. And then when you look at the offer list, this is, once again, he's a player ranked 88th overall in the class in the composite rankings. So, which I find this so funny. This is so funny to me. In the composite rankings, Sanders is ranked 88th. He's the 10th defensive lineman, and he's the 17th best player in Texas. That shows you something about how fortunate Texas and Texas A&M are to be in this hotbed for recruiting elite players. But, he's a guy who had 2 crystal balls to Texas. And I'm looking at him right here. 2 crystal balls to Texas, and he picked the Aggies. So, listen, there's nothing in the world that feels better than beating your rival for a recruit. It's just a great feeling. You take those all day long. It always feels good when you take a recruit away from Coach Shark and the Longhorns. We're not going to pretend like that's not true because it just is. It's just exciting to take recruits from your rivals. But I want to read the blurb on here. This is from Hudson Standish, who evaluated them. for 24/7 Sports. It says a disruptive force with an unverified burly frame hovering around 6'4", 290 pounds, primarily plays defensive end in a four-man front at the high school level, but will slide to the interior defensive line at the next level. One of the strongest defensive linemen at the point of attack in the 2025 recruiting cycle, routinely stacks and sheds opposing offensive linemen with ease, which very true. That was one of the things that quickly stood out in the film. Nimble play style and smooth gait show up frequently while rushing the passer and offers significant long-term value. Finishes junior season with multiple defensive touchdowns on fumble recoveries and interceptions. Possesses a multi-sport profile with promising varsity basketball reps, which offer insight to his hip and ankle flexibility. I just tell you this right now. I don't want to guard him in the paint. Don't want any part of that. No, thank you. Will need to keep progressing, but has shown plenty so far to eventually emerge as a difference maker at the Power 5 level and eventually an NFL draft pick, Power 4 level now. But yeah, this is a player in Sanders who I think has the future in the NFL based on that athleticism and quickness at his size. I mean, the offer list is impressive. Obviously, you don't really need to say that when he's a top 100 player, but Texas A&M, Texas, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, LSU, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Oregon, USC. I mean, this is an impressive offer list. So you take that, and then defensive line was one of the positions, I think 2 weeks ago, I did a breakdown of, okay, where are we at in the recruiting class? What do the Aggies still need when it position-wise? What do the Aggies still need? Hey, we need a couple of this position. And one of the positions that Texas A&M needed to start adding some more players was defensive line. And nothing helps like adding a highly ranked 4-star player to the class. Sanders is a guy. Is he out there as a freshman? It's just going to depend on the depth of the defensive liner. I mean, remember, DJ Hicks wasn't even out there as a freshman, and we know who DJ Hicks is. So, point is, Texas A&M is always going to have a deep defensive line. When you're a defensive lineman, I don't care if you're a top 100 recruit, if you're ranked 917. It's going to be really hard to step on the field as a true freshman and get some serious snaps. It's just the reality of how deep that room is on a year-to-year basis. So, but DJ Sanders is a player who I do believe has the upside to step on the field early into his career, whether that's freshman or sophomore year. The recruiting class is currently 6th overall. You look at that, and I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, we talked to DeAndre Ryden about this the other day when he was on the show. But, I mean, what Coach Elko has come in and done when it comes to his recruiting has just been incredible. As y'all everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know, the one thing I was a little concerned about when Texas A&M hired Mike Elko was, okay, can he recruit like we believe he needs to? We know he can develop. We know he's got the X's and O's. We know he's got a great defense. We know he hired a great coaching staff. But can he get good players? He was at Duke where you're just flat out not getting great players. It was a little concerning to me. Not just the fact that he was coming from a school where it's hard to, this isn't basketball. It's hard at Duke. It's hard to recruit football players. And he's come to Texas A&M and absolutely knocked recruiting out of the ballpark. I mean, just knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, you take that all day long, feel really good about this class. And yeah, I think there's a world where this class is ranked around where it is. I mean, you're 6 right now. I think it's going to be tough to get in the top 5. Not impossible, but tough. You're going to have to. It might take some late flips or some big time players that maybe the Aggies are kind of in second or third for now and winning those battles. But it's not impossible. But still, if you would have told me that Elko has a top 10 recruiting class his first year as the head coach of Texas A&M, I would have said, sign me up all day long. So DJ Sanders, great player. Go watch the tape. I highly, highly recommend it. Great player. It's very exciting. And you got to be excited about where this recruiting class currently sits. We're going to talk about a receiver who is really starting to play well heading into the season coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Visit FanDuel.com and you can find all of the best odds, all of the best things to bet on. NFL stuff, you got MLB stuff right now over on FanDuel.com. But you got so much more NFL stuff, college basketball stuff, college football stuff, a ton to bet on, futures. Go check them out. Promise you will not regret it. And once again, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Locked On Podcast Network. So I've been hearing some good things about Ja'Day Walker. I mean, a player, Ja'Day Walker's a guy. I'm all in on the Noah Thomas hype train, and that has not changed. But you can be a believer in multiple players. And then we actually have to have a deeper conversation about this wide receiver room. There was an interesting development when it comes to starters. I'll break that down on tomorrow's show. That will probably lead with that. But Ja'Day Walker's doing a lot of good things right now. He's a player that really seems to be playing well as we get close to the start of the season. Hey, and there's no time to kind of hit your off-season stride in 2 or 3 weeks before the season starts. He's a guy who everyone sees the upside. He's got the frame, he's got the strength, he's got the speed, he's got the great catch ability. I mean, you got to love the upside Ja'Day Walker possesses when it comes to the 2024 season. But I mean, if him and Noah Thomas can be really good, just really good, that would be so massive for this Texas A&M football team. Because y'all know my thoughts on how good I think Connor Wigman's going to be this season. But if he's got legit weapons, if these receivers can be better than, I thought about, you're in a really good spot. Because once again, especially with the injury to Jabri Barber at one point, thinking you weren't going to see him at any point this year, I wouldn't say I was crazy concerned about this room, but I had some depth concerns and I had some, can someone be the alpha dog concerns? And I'm really starting to feel better top to bottom about this room. And I want to dive deeper into this receiver room tomorrow because we do have a more important conversation to have at some point. And I think that'll be tomorrow morning. But once again, it's a room that you have depth, you have talent. Some of that talent is unproven. Some of that talent is young. But once again, top to bottom, you have a ton of talent. So I'm very, very excited to see how this room shapes out. But the better this room is, the better this offense is, the better this room is, the better Connor Wigman is this season. But I'm starting to feel a lot more confident in these receivers, and that is just going to make Connor Wigman a better player than we already believe he can be this year. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. Really, really appreciate it. Hit 2,000 subscribers. Thanks for all the support. Really means a lot that everybody's tuning in every day and helping the show out. Hope everyone has an outstanding rest of their Monday, and we will see you tomorrow right here at Locked On Aggies.